Time to hit the big tracks in American flat track with the Law Tigers Arizona Mile, presented by Buddy Stubbs Harley-Davidson. Round 5 here at Turf Paradise. Jared Mees has taken the checkered flag first in every race he's been in this year. Will a trip to the big tracks and the miles change that? Brad Baker lost this race a year ago by 0.05 seconds, so certainly he wants to win it here. And Brandon Robinson, they continue to rise as they make gains on the factory Harley-Davidson machine. Let's see if he puts it on the podium. Ryan Wells won our last race in the AFT singles division. He wants to make it 2 in a row here. Also, finding her stride is Shayna Texter. Back-to-back runner-up finishes puts her up into the top 5 in singles points. Jason Wygant, Ralph Shaheen, and Heather DeBow here to give you the call in Arizona. Now, it's going to be a lot different today on a mile racetrack under hot conditions, but it was certainly exciting on the half mile last time. The American flat track has made a swing to the West Coast, the CALISTOGA half mile. Ryan Wells trying to run and hide out front. Let's see if Texter can get a line down to the inside. She makes it work. Oh, Wells almost threw it away, but he holds on. Look at this. Carver is on the rear tire of Mees. Can he make the pass? Mees hooks up and just holds on. So Mees wins that one, but it was close with Jeffrey Carver Jr. Henry Wiles, very consistent this year, is second in the series standings. Briar Bauman third. He's on a Kawasaki. Almost everybody else you see in this group are on Indians, be their factory machines or private. That motorcycle has been dominant this year. So that's Mees leading it. We're going to show you what it's like to race here in Arizona. Ralph, what's this place all about?
This is a 1-mile horse racing track. They held their last race for the horses just a week ago. So the track is as good condition-wise as it's gonna be. The challenge is the bright sunshine, the hot temperatures, and a very sandy surface. I was out walking it earlier. It is definitely very sandy. Look for one groove on the bottom. But hey, miles are always tough.
Ooh, mile tracks are tricky. There's times where you want to be leading it off turn 4. There's times where you want to be second or third coming off turn 4.
With 1 lap to go on a mile track, you definitely want to be in the top 2. Top 3 is all right, but sometimes if you're in third, it's hard to get that extra spot.
I would say second is probably where you want to be because that's the only win that I've had was coming off in second.
Man, you're asking my secrets. There's been times where I've won the race leading coming off of turn 4, and there's other times where I've won the race coming off of turn 4 in 3rd place.
Mile track, 1 lap to go, I want to be a straightaway ahead. That never happens. You don't know what's going to happen coming out of turn 4 when you have 3, 4 guys drafting, going for it.
The draft plays in everything, depending if you have a headwind, tailwind. When you come off the corner on the inside, you're more straight up and down, so you have more of a time to draft somebody.
Usually by 5 to go, you sort of know where you have to be, but everyone's in that same predicament.
It just really depends. I kind of just try and play my cards each and every lap leading up to it and make sure that I'm set up in the right spot. So far, it's played out in my favor.
Definitely in the top 2 on the last lap, and just depending on the mile and the situation, whether you want to be 1 or 2.
They're all jockeying for that position, and hopefully you're the guy that puts yourself in the best position in that last lap.
Yes, the high-speed chess of dealing with the draft at the miles, and we have 5 straight big tracks coming up.
And the 2 that are most important to me are Sacramento and Springfield. They're 2 very traditional ones. Everybody should be a little bit more even on the playing field there.
And Springfield's kind of a crown jewel in this, so they want that. But as for Arizona, let's send it to Heather.
Thanks, Jason. The big question here today in the twins class is who can beat Jared Mees? Usually we would look to the mile specialist of Brian Smith, who won this race last year, but unfortunately he is still at home with a broken leg due to a crash at Texas. 2 riders you might want to keep your eye on, however, is Jeffrey Carver, who finished second to Mees at Calistoga, a very close second place, or Brad Baker, who almost won this race last year and is still looking to get his first win on the Indian motorcycle. In the singles class, we've had 4 different winners in 4 races, and 1 rider looking to make that number 5 is Shayna Texter on the new Husqvarna. She won this race last year and is strong on the miles, and after getting 2 second-place finishes in a row, she is hungry for that win.
Thanks, Heather. Here's how they will get there. Got to run the gauntlet. 3 heat races. That feeds everyone into the semis. And if you qualify to the semi, you're into the main event. 15 laps for singles, 20 in the twins class. So now you understand the rules of the road, we understand the track conditions, and we'll show you some of the things we saw in qualifying. We'll start with our heat races. Good battle between Sammy Halbert on the Harley and, of course, Mees on the #1 Indian. This is close.
The Harleys are starting to creep up a little bit and starting to find their speed, and this is the first big test up against the Indian wrecking crew on the mile, and boy, Sammy Halbert looked pretty good there.
And good to see Doug Lawrence on the Ducati getting in. He is the replacement for Stevie Bonzi, who was hurt in that crash we talked about earlier with Brian Smith. Jeffrey Carver continues rolling after a good race. Last time out, he wins his heat.
And Carver is the guy that Jared Mees says he's most concerned about.
Says a lot right there. It's high praise. Robert Pearson on the 27, despite the wheelie off the line. You don't want to do that, but he holds on to win heat race number 3 over Brandon Robinson. Now into the semis, so the field begins to narrow and the contenders line up against each other. Brad Baker is going to show you what a draft is like at a mile. He tries it on Mees.
This is about as hard as Jared Mees has been pushed all season. Look at this. That's going to give a lot of confidence to Baker going into the main event, that if he can get a good start, he can run with Mees.
And this guy's been so solid all year. The 17 of Henry Wiles, normally known as a specialist on the shorter tracks, especially the TTs, dominates his semi. So the field is set in the Twins division. What about AFT singles? We got a bunch of rising stars, including Kevin Stallings and our series points leader, Brandon Price, ready to chase some points here in Arizona. Stay with us. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. And by American Flat Track, America's original extreme sport. And by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. Very tight championship battle in the AFT singles division. You see Price and Bromley, only 4 markers between them. Shayna Texter moving up after not qualifying for the opener. Kevin Stallings, by the way, is only top 10. He has 1 podium this year, but he has shown great speed this year. Just tough dialing in the consistency. Here he is with Heather.
Well, Jason, one of the riders showing a lot of speed this season is Kevin Stallings in the singles class. Kevin, CALISTOGA, you had a little bit of a hard get off at the end of the main event. First of all, are you okay, and what happened there?
Yeah, I'm fine. Last lap, last corner, I came under Brandon. I think the rider behind me kind of got up into me and then made me get into Brandon. I just went face first on the other side and cost me some points, but I think by the time the season starts going around, all we get to these big tracks, which I'm good at, we'll be able to make those points back up and get back in the chase.
How would you say your mindset is after having something like that happen?
Just always do better when something bad happens. I just use that just as positive energy and just make sure I do better the next race, and hopefully nothing else bad happens, which something just did here. My boot strap came off and got in my gear, so it locked my back tire up and crashed, but we're smiling about it and I'm okay, so we're gonna keep going and hopefully get a win here today.
Seems like the miles tracks bring a smile to your face. What do you think attributes that to your riding style and why you're good on a mile track?
I'm so small and everybody's like 30 pounds heavier than me, so I get down on the tuck and they can't really draft me. I just like going fast, and this is where I feel comfortable.
Well, he's from Indianapolis, Indiana. Of course he feels comfortable going fast, right?
Of course.
All right, Ryan Wells continues his recent surge. He won our last main event in California. He wins his heat race here in Arizona. He's also a former champion of this series. Now we're going to show you how close this racing in a mile can get. Brandon Price, Tristan Avery. Avery tries to run the draft, get underneath, and goes on to take the win. In heat 3, Stallings takes the victory in that one. But then we go to the semis, and this is what flat track racing in a mile is all about. 4 riders drafting and battling.
Coming from 3rd, working the draft, getting inside, taking the lead, and eventually the checkered flag.
So that's Tristan Avery, and you're going to see its final corner. He breaks away. Then Wells, Janish, and Stallings are all fighting for second. It becomes nearly a dead heat between them. Great racing there, but bad news for Colby Carlisle, your defending series champion. Clutch problems, does not qualify for tonight's main. His title defense has been a nightmare. One more qualifying race, the semi. It's as close as it can get between Dan Bromley and Brandon Price. They're battling for the series points lead. And watch this. You're going to see how a draft is done by Bromley. It's nearly a dead heat at the end.
And how close it is. I mean, he can barely put a grip in between the two of them. And at the line, came up zeros.
Yeah, a dead heat as far as timing and scoring. The win does go to Bromley. Literally a photo finish. But it is a horse racing track, so we're used to that kind of thing around here. Great weather, great track, and a lot of fans on hand. And a big thanks to the folks at Law Tigers for helping make it happen. Heather, is on the infield.
Here now with Ari Levenbaum of Law Tigers and rider of the number 65 in the singles class, Corey Texter. Ari, you guys have been involved in flat track for about 6 years or so. Tell us a little bit about how Law Tigers is involved.
So about 6 years ago, Chris and Charlie came to me at Laguna Seca, which is in Monterey, and said, hey, we're looking to put on this really cool race in Pomona, flat track race. And I really didn't know that much about it at the time, but I'm like, sure, why not? We support other aspects of racing, other parts of the community. Fast forward another year, they came to me and said, look, we're going to take this to your home base, to Phoenix, Arizona. And I actually have an announcement today, a surprise. I just inked a deal today to support a second race. We're going to be involved in the Black Hills Half Mile as the presenting sponsor, so I'm super excited to be there.
Corey Texter here, you've been supporting him or sponsoring him for about the last 2 years. Corey, what does it mean to you as a privateer to have the backing of Law Tigers?
Yeah, it's huge. I've known about the Law Tigers brand for a long time growing up in the industry, and I'm all about what they represent, you know, helping injured riders. It's something I wanted to be a part of, and they're a huge part of my program. If it wasn't for them the last 2 years, I wouldn't have been racing, so they really support me.
Corey spoke to it there. You help out the injured motorcyclists. Explain how Law Tigers goes about doing that.
So we've been around 17 years, and I grew up on the dirt. My dad and I used to ride ETCs in the dirt, and we love riding. And, you know, he said, you know what, if we can take our passion and make a business out of it and help out people, let's do it. We're really about supporting the community, whether it's racing, whether it's safety.
Well, thank you for everything you do. And Jason, we're going to have another great show here at the Arizona Mile. The Law Tigers always put on a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be good. First of all, we've had 4 winners in the first 4 rounds of singles racing this year, and then you saw in those semis how close the racing's going to be on this mile track.
As much as Jared Mees has dominated the twins, this singles category is wide open. Nobody has stepped up and said, I'm the racer to beat this year. There are still a few riders like Shayna Texter back there in the 52. We haven't seen the top step of the podium yet, but it could be coming maybe as soon as today.
Absolutely. Maybe it's Tristan Avery's turn. He's got the #1 spot in the grid. He chooses to go all the way to the outside. But there's so much strategy in these mile races. Just getting the lead early doesn't mean you have the lead when it counts.
No, and that's the other thing. It's not just about horsepower and outright top-end speed. It's that chess match strategy. Who's going to play it the best?
Here we go. The Arizona Mile is underway in the singles division, and Bromley getting the jump. He's one of the biggest guys out here, but getting the power to the ground off the line and already starting to pull away.
Well, and that's going to be huge for him. Let him find his groove, his rhythm, and try to set his pace. But he knows they're all stacking up behind him, and they're going to start working together to reel him in and eventually go by him.
Jesse Janish on the 132 up to second. He's got Tristan Avery right behind him. Then Brandon Price on the 92 in 4th. Corey Texter in 5th. And they are starting to form a pack. They can start drafting down this front stretch. Janish is going to be the first one to throw the challenge at the leader, Bromley.
Late afternoon sun here today as we get into this main event. Not so much a challenge outside of the shadows going into 1, but watch as they come off of 4 and they're headed right into that sunshine. That's going to be tough on the riders.
Yeah, as if they needed another challenge out here. Bromley's got to have eyes on the back of his head. Sun or shade, because here comes the challenge. Janice is going to try to work the high line of the entrance, but then fades back to the low line.
Here comes that sun. Look how bright that is as they slip and slide coming off of 4. Look, right into the face.
Texter, a terrible start. That unfortunately happens to her more often than she would like, but on the mile, she is so good at making the passes in the draft, and she makes one right there. Oh, didn't make it stick, though. That's Cameron Smith, who's able to get back around her. Meanwhile, Janish has finally made the pass happen, and he's into the lead.
Now Bromley's got to figure out a way to get that big frame of his, not the motorcycle, the body, down below the paint so he can get as aerodynamic as he can and make something happen on the inside here.
Rick Price in 4th, the Replay XD on board. Tristan Avery right in front of him. Then you see the leaders. Mistake by Avery off the corner, and Price says, thanks, I'll take 3rd.
Well, you can hear him working that throttle.
Oh, and the perfect timing. He let off, then he got on the gas just when he was in that draft and goes from 3rd to 1st. Meanwhile, Janice trying to get him back. Here's an update from Heather.
That's right, guys. Jesse Janice showing some muscle on the outside line there. I talked to him earlier today, and he told me that 7th place was the best he's ever finished on a mile, and that was at Oklahoma. He's known for the TTs, so today's a little bit different of an animal to see him up front. But he said he made a change after his heat race, and he's seen speed ever since. He said his roof systems Yamaha is working great, and he's happy to be in the main event tonight.
Well, he's in the mix to win the main event tonight, going right back after Price in the same spot where Price got around on the previous time around. And now Bromley on the outside. He's going to try to go third to first.
Oh boy, that outside lane is still raceable. There's traction there as Bromley makes it work. It's not very wide, Jason, but if you can get it hooked up just right, like Bromley did, you can use it to your advantage.
See Bromley bouncing around there. He's under the attack, and Price goes back to the lead again. Yes, the high-speed chess match that is mile racing in AFT, it is on here in Arizona. Price into the #1 spot. But who's looking to set him up to get around? Stay with us. Unbelievable, this battle keeps getting closer at the Arizona Mile. Brandon Price in the lead. The challenge comes from the 16 of Tristan Avery, who has joined this lead pack. 5 riders going for the win, and Avery on the 16 now has the point position.
Halfway into this race, and these racers are now starting to figure out each other's strategy. Who's strong where? Where can I get a guy if I'm in third? Is that far enough up to the front, like we're seeing here with the 99 of Stallings, trying to make a run going into 3?
Making it happen is Stallings, who's just been kind of lurking at the tail end of this group. But Brandon Price of the 92 does not like it. He comes right back and takes the second place position away from Stallings. Right now, Avery in the #1 spot. Watch the 62 in 4th. That's Bromley. He can capitalize on this. Looks like Price going to go through. He takes the lead, but he drifts a little wide. Can he hold it on the exit of turn 2?
So much of mile flat track racing for the first 3/4 of the race is just testing the rest of the field, seeing how you stack up with them, so that when we get down to those final 2-3 laps, you can play your strategy out. We're almost there. This is a final run, 3 wide.
That's about the 3rd or 4th time. Oh! And a huge crash.
Boy, that's just too narrow of a lane there for them to go 3 wide. They got a little dicey in there, a little loose, and now the red flag is out.
It was Tristan Avery on that 16 that is down. Bromley takes the lead through all that carnage, but with that red flag, this race will have to be restarted, and Avery luckily able to get up under his own power. Check this out, Ralph.
You can just see they were all fighting in here, and it's just a narrow area, 3 wide in there. His bike started getting a little wobbly on him. He was trying to hang on the best he could. There was just no room. They made a little contact, and down he went, and fortunately, into the air fencing.
Yeah, we'll show it to you one more time from a different angle. Price just shot out of the middle of that group, and that changed everything in that corner. That's how mile racing works. He played the strategy he wanted. Avery couldn't avoid it, but look at this. He's trying to get back in the race. That was a brutal wreck. So good to see that he's not only healthy, but might be able to get back out there. We will restart this. Bromley, you remember, led them to the flag as the red flag and the caution lights came on. And there is Avery back on it on the number 16. I cannot believe it. Now we are going to revert back to where we were when the crash happened. So it's Price now back to the lead. But in a mile race, the question is always for how long. We already saw how close the racing is going to be, and you can expect this pack is going to get right back on the number 92.
Well, he's going to get a big advantage on that start, and they're going to have to hustle to get back up there and put their strategies back into play. Stallings is the first one to him on the 99.
Out of turn 3 we go. For the moment, it's a 2-rider pack, Price and Stallings. We'll see if Bromley or anybody else back there can stick with them. This is what it's like to be under pressure. Stallings makes the run. Side by side down the front stretch. Fans here in Arizona have to absolutely be loving this racing. 11 laps down, 4 to go. Stallings to the lead, and there's the rest of the pack. Bromley and Janish are right there in 3rd and 4th.
So Stallings now knows that coming off of 4th, he's on the inside in 2nd. From that gap, he has just enough speed and space to get to the line first. But now he's in the lead. Who's going to test him now?
And shout out to Corey Texter in 5th. He is with this group also. Shaded a bit to the inside on Janish right in front of him. Now Bromley looking to make a move on Price, and those are the two riders first and second in the points, battling for second in this race. Bromley, a clean pass.
All right, so Bromley's in the second. Can he stay there? Doesn't look like it. But those two are going to have to work together a little bit, Jason, to reel back into Stallings, because they've only got a lap or two to catch him before they try to make a move on him.
You're seeing real aggression out of the 92 of Price. Every time someone makes a move, he slingshots right back by. He does not want to let Stallings get far enough away. Is it possible, Ralph, if you open up a big enough lead where they can't draft you? Is that what Stallings wants to do right now?
Well, he could certainly make that happen. Price is quick enough to win this. He just needs the help from Bromley to get up to Stallings.
And instead, they are battling each other, swapping into nearly every corner. Bromley up to second again. Now Janice trying to get Price for third. Time is starting to run out. What is the strategy now? Bromley says, I want the lead immediately, and he takes it away from Stallings.
Well, sometimes you just carry so much speed down into the corner because you've been sitting in second that whether you want the lead or not, you're just going to have to take it because the air is going to push you right past.
Yeah, a lot of riders will say they'd rather be second when the white flag comes out than first. White flag is on the way. Stallings retakes it from Bromley. Price is right there, and oh, this is a great race.
The really interesting thing there was that Stallings got by, and then you can see him really work that bike to slow it back down and stay on the groove and not push too high. Look at Bromley on the outside.
So Big Dan Bromley gets it, and then Price all the way down on the inside goes from third to first. Stallings is in the middle. Bromley, Janish right there. Woo!
I think Price might have the fastest motorcycle here. It's just whether or not he's going to be in position to utilize that. And I don't know if being in the lead right now with that pack coming after him is where he wants to be.
Lap and a half to go. And he might be thinking what you're thinking, Ralph. Price yields the lead to Stallings, at least for now.
And look at how nice Price was able to stay right in the groove. Now he's tucked in here behind Stallings. If he can get a little push from Bromley, let's see what he does down the backstretch.
So there it is, white flag. Remember what Stallings said. He would like to just break away from these guys. Out of turn 2 we go. Oh, and Bromley almost runs into the back of Price. Is Price close enough on this backstretch to use the draft to get back around Stallings? Only turns 3 and 4 remain in what has been a fantastic Arizona mile in the singles class.
We know Price is strong enough that if he's right behind him, he can come off before and make it work, but Bromley's going to get into this mix.
And Bromley gets by him. So the plan that Price had for the lead has backfired. Is Bromley going to have time to draft Stallings? Checkered flag in sight. We're on the front stretch for the last time. Bromley's going to try it. Not gonna happen, and Stallings wins the 5th winner in 5 rounds this year in AFT singles. And what a race. Stallings played it perfectly.
Well, Stallings wasn't able to run away from him. Here he is taking the lead for the last time. He didn't disappear, but he did a great job of just playing defense and keeping them all behind, and the rest of them just made too many mistakes. And Stallings ends up on the top step of the podium, and he's with Heather.
An exciting finish here in the singles class. Kevin Stallings taking home the win. Kevin, your day's been a little up and down. You went from going down and qualifying with the strap on your boot, getting hooked into the motorcycle, to coming back to getting your first win of the season. Tell us a little bit about your roller coaster day.
Yeah, it started off pretty bad crashing. I've crashed the past 2 weekends, so it's kind of put me down there, but just glad I could pull this off, win early in the season, and hopefully keep going from here. It was exciting, and I thought the restart was going to affect me, but I made it through because I'm usually terrible at restarts. But I'm glad I could get back through and get the win first one of the season.
Yep, 5 winners in 5 races. Stallings is on the board. Consistency is good for Bromley and Price in the championship. Texter Shayna struggling a bit, only 8th after winning this race a year ago. And Morgan Mishler, who won a race earlier in the year, finishes up in 10th. Tristan Avery 11th after the crash. Here's Bromley with Heather.
Dan Bromley bringing it home, 2nd place today. That's your 4th podium this season, but let's go back to the racing action. Very exciting to watch. What was it like for you from the rider's seat?
Oh, it was wild out there because the track was all over the place. When they water it, you can go 4 wide in the corner, which was awesome. But the hardest thing was going down the straightaway with my size, knowing someone's going to pass me. Every lap it was like, no one passed me. I'm like, whoo! And then going down the back straightaway, there's all the shadows, so you couldn't really tell. But I knew the hardest thing to do was to be in the top 3 that last lap. And thankfully enough, I was able to get my KTM USA 450 up there. And coming off the last turn, I thought maybe I might have a shot at it, but the start-finish line was about 30 feet too short.
Let's look at these standings here. They just tighten up. After Stallings takes the win, he's now up to 6 and only 1 point between Price and Bromley. Ryan Wells, who's okay, said he just fell off the groove from where he wanted to be and didn't get into that battle for the lead. Let's check in with Price.
Third place today in the singles class is Brandon Price. Brandon, we saw you lead some laps there, 3-wide battle, pack racing, draft passing. If you could have gone back and done anything differently, would you?
Yeah, I think I would try and hold the bottom the last corner, last lap. Dan got underneath me and kind of pushed me up wide, but it's just racing. So I think we're good for Sacramento. I just wish I would have rode the bottom there. That's one thing.
Well, great racing in this AFT singles division. There is your podium. We're going to check in with Brad Baker, one of the most talented riders in our Twins division, but he has had a tough go of it early this season, and he's trying to battle back. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Indian Motorcycle. Be legendary. By E3 Spark Plugs, the official spark plug of AFT. And by American Flat Tracker Clothing Company. Find your groove at AmericanFlatTracker.com. No one has endured the ups and downs of American Flat Track more than 2013 champion Brad Baker. He has been beset by injuries ever since. This year has been tough also.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Turf Paradise. For me, I've had too much, and I always say, okay, this is the end, everything's gonna be good. Then something else creeps up on me.
Bad news for Brad Baker on the number 6. The factory Indian rider goes down, and you see the hit to the head.
It all happened just right at the last instance. I was angry at myself for like, hey, it's the first lap of the heat race. You know, you don't need to be trying to make it or break it in the first turn. Going over the high side is one of the hardest crashes you can have. Every time that we ride and race, we're taking a risk. It's on your mind the whole time. You know, you try to say, oh, just get it out of your head, don't think about it. It's like, how do you do that? If it wasn't for passion and love for sport, I mean, I want to have the ambition to really do it. Having people behind you really helps motivate you to push on. I feel really good going in the mile tracks. It's kind of crazy to say that I'm more one of the veterans now of the sport, more than a rookie. Getting that first podium of the year, that's kind of like getting a little bit of the monkey out the back. Really, podium's awesome, but a win is what I really need. What the team needs, what I need especially, is to have that feeling again. That's really what drives you into the next weekend and get your mojo back, so to speak. Been kind of knocked down, and I'm trying to claw my way back, you know? So led almost 20 laps of this race or so last year, maybe more. Got edged out by my teammate Brian Smith right at the end. So with the past 2 years, winter gone, it's anybody's grabs, right?
Always finding the positives is Baker. Same thing for Davis Fisher. Great run at our last event, and now he's picked up a new ride starting this weekend. He's with Heather.
Here now with Davis Fisher, who has some great news this weekend. Davis, you've been officially signed on for the rest of the season with Richie Morris Racing on the Indian. Tell us a little bit about how that deal came together.
It was about Woodstock time. We just kind of put the deal together, and Double D's Performance came on board with the Indian, and then I had my Indian, so we just kind of joined forces with my team.
So in Calistoga, you got to ride the Indian for the first time. You ended up finishing 5th, had a great run. How did you feel on the bike with minimal seat time?
Yeah, I felt really good. As soon as I got it on in practice, I felt right at home on this Indian FTR. Man, I only rode around my block at home, and then we loaded up, went to the track, and yeah, I felt great on the thing.
Now today you have Double D's Performance Indian Motorcycle of Scottsdale. What would it mean to you to bring home a great finish for them in their hometown?
Yeah, it felt great. Just their backing, spent the week at their local shop, and just the family mixture around the shop is really cool. So I got the whole family here, and it'll be great to get another good finish here today in Phoenix, Arizona.
When we return, we'll talk to the factory Harley-Davidson team about racing on the miles. Maybe this track will be the breakthrough that they're looking for, a completely different style of racing to what we've seen earlier this season. American Flat Track back here on NBCSN. The mile-long track here at Turf Paradise. Going to throw some new challenges at the riders. Let's see how the factory Harley team plans on handling it.
Pretty excited for the mile stretch. That's kind of where our strengths lied last year, and with a little bit of improvements we made over the offseason, I'm pretty excited to get into them and see where we kind of stack up. I feel like our bikes are fast, so it's just getting the power to the ground, and then hopefully we're running up front.
There's so much different with the mile. Just the speed alone is the huge thing, obviously, in the drafting. The amount of G-forces in the corner from the speed changes things, and then just, the draft, really, and the horsepower of the bikes is so huge.
The speed is the big difference on mile racing, and going out there, you need a little bit of experience to know how to draft on the miles and know where to put yourself when it comes down to the last couple laps of the main event.
There's a lot of strategy that goes into the mile race. It ain't just full on go. You got to precise think about what's going to happen and make your move at the end. You definitely try to get small and narrow for the front straightaway, and the wind makes a big difference for sure, definitely if you're behind.
Being tall sort of sucks, I guess. I can't bend over quite as good as the little guys, where they barely have to tuck. I got to scooch my butt back all the rear fender and try to get as small as I can.
Power to weight ratio obviously is the one big thing, and then being able to tuck and get out of the wind. All I really got to do is duck my head, and I'm tucked, so it's pretty easy.
Now we're ready to unleash these riders onto the racetrack. The Arizona Mile about to begin, and the riders will pick their grid positions. But first, let's check back in with Heather and our Dunlop Tire Tech Tip.
As always, Dunlop brings 2 tire compounds for the riders here in the Twins class to choose from. Today, we are on a mile, so they brought the 2 harder compounds of the R8 and the R10. Now, we saw minimal tire wear today, so they are all on the R8, which is a softer compound of the 2. When you have softer compounds, that means more grip on the racetrack and faster lap times.
Sounds like a good play. Jared Mees has the first spot on our starting grid. He has won every race that he's lined up for this year, at least taking the checkered flag first. Brandon Robinson on the 44, hoping to challenge him. Here's your grid. Will things change maybe in a mile? This is the opportunity they're looking for.
Well, one other thing the racers are going to be considering with that softer compound tire is that we're later into the afternoon. The sun is down behind the main stretch grandstands. No shadows, no baking, cooler temps in that sandy dirt.
20 laps in the Arizona Mile, and we're underway in the Twins class. Great jump for Jeffrey Carver in the 23, but he's going to get edged out. Jared Mees on the number 1 from the outside spot. Going to make it happen and headed toward that K&N hole shot. So that's not what the rest of the field wanted to see. Mees getting the jump. He's got Robert Pearson behind him on the 27, and then Henry Wiles on the 17.
And then Carver, and then Baker on the 6 coming to the inside, trying to get to 4th. Baker is the one that could not afford a bad start. We saw him earlier today. He was able to match the speed of Mees, but he had to be with him off the line. Now he's got a ways to go just to catch him.
And Henry Wiles getting around Pearson, taking over second. Now, Wiles dominates at a lot of our TT events, which are completely different from this. Left and right-hand turns, they have jumps and much slower speeds. He has really stepped up the all-around game this year. He's on one of those privateer Indian Scouts, and that thing is hooked up. He's not letting Mees get too far away.
You can see how far down the sun was as we go on board here with Baker. Watch as they come onto the front straightaway. The sun down over the mountains surrounding the area. It is going to be challenging for the riders to see now, not because of the sunshine, but more the lack thereof, and also the dust.
You can see just a bit of that up ahead from Wiles and Mees. So that's what Baker, who has now moved up to 3rd, is going to have to deal with. A little bit of a wobble there midway through turns 1 and 2.
If Brad can get up to the backside of Wiles on the 17, and they can work together, they can maybe reel back in Jared Mees and then have a shot at him.
Briar Bauman is in this group as well. He's on the number 14. Oh, but Mees starting to open it up. You don't normally see this. So a sense of urgency from the number 6 of Baker. He's trying to get Wiles. Let's see if he can make it happen and get to 2nd. Using the draft, using the low line, and he's made the pass. So I think he could tell you cannot let Jared Mees get this kind of a lead early. Baker making a couple of quick passes, only took 4 laps to get the second. Was it quick enough, though?
Shows you how fast Brad Baker's Indian is, but he has got to have the help of Bauman on the 14 and Wiles on the 17 to catch him. The fact that Jared is out by himself and opening up that kind of a gap, boy, that's frightening.
Well, yeah, you don't often see that in mile races. Remember the singles race we just watched, how close these races usually are. But Mies starting to open it up. Wiles not going anywhere. He is stuck right on the rear tire of Baker. Gotta wonder what's running through the head of the number 6. Let's check in with Heather for an update.
Brad Baker and the number 6 Indian team has been working hard on that bike all day to get it faster. They made a lot of changes between the heats and the semis. One thing he's been struggling with is getting off the line. He's had very slow starts. So in this main event, we saw him start from the second row outside in order to get to the groove faster. Currently, he's running second, trying to catch the leader.
And a change for third. Thanks for the update, Heather. Briar Bauman has now gotten around Wiles. Wiles immediately returns and gets that spot back. So we're seeing the kind of drafting and action we expect in a mile, just not with Jared Mies in the lead.
Our top 3 motorcycles are all Indians. They're incredibly strong down the straightaways. Our 4th place bike, Bauman, is on a Kawasaki. It seems to be handling much better through the corners. That's where he's making his speed.
Brandon Robinson on the Harley around Robert Pearson. So the 44 into the top 5.
Boy, they're just pitching it into a cloud of dust, aren't they? Sliding into turn 3. And that's one of the advantages that Mies has, too. He's out in front of that. Of everybody, he's got the best vision right now.
Yeah, Baker wants to be closer, but that means he's going to be in a little bit of that dust. As we watch this Robinson and Pearson battle right now for 5th and 6th. Robinson would love to bridge that gap. If he can get up to Bauman, that keeps it close with Wiles and Baker as well. He's at a 4th this year, but he would like to have a podium on that factory Harley number 44. And then you see Jeffrey Carver on the 23. Well, you did see him. You'll see him again in a moment. Carver was the one who really challenged Mies at our last event in California. More action back here between Bauman and Wiles. Robinson.
He is really good here in 3 and 4. That's where Bauman is his strongest.
You mentioned how strong that bike is handling. Now we go into 1 and 2, and it looks like Wiles able to take the measure of him again. And here's Mies, got the Replay XD on board. Can't see anyone back there. Need a telescoping lens on that thing to see Baker. But it is still early here in Arizona. And Baker has broken away from this fight between Wiles and Bauman. So Baker's, basically the track is all his. Figure out the line, try to close the gap, as we're not even halfway through.
Well, as we said, we knew Brad had a very fast motorcycle here today. As we saw in the semis, basically as fast as Jared's. He just didn't get the start that he needed. It's going to be tough for him to make up that gap.
Yeah, Mies knows how to manage a lead, but Baker is so determined, wants to get the win. Can he do it? Stay with us. Jared Mies trying to run away with the Arizona mile. There was maybe a glimmer of hope when we got to different tracks on the miles. Maybe these riders could finally get a hook in the number 1, but it is not materializing today.
Well, look, Mies has been first to the checkered flag in the first 4 races of the year. With these 5 miles, they cannot allow him to dominate this section of the season like he did the first 4 races. They've got to slow that number 1 freight train down. Maybe Brian Smith can do it when we get to Sacramento at the next race.
Yeah, we're hoping to get Smith back for that one as he's recovering from a broken leg. Now, there is some lap traffic. Mies is beginning to approach it. That could be the opportunity Baker's looking for. He's got to get around Varnes on the 68.
For Mies at this point, it's about risk-reward. He only needs to be fast enough to win this race. So he's trying to balance the conditions with the racetrack, the traffic, and just how far back is Brad Baker. He's got some room to play with here, not these two.
No, it looks like a game, though. It looks like they're playing. They go back and forth nearly every corner, the 17 of Wiles, the 14 of Bauman. I think Baker has closed it up a little bit, but time is running out. Bauman up to 3rd. Let's check in again with Heather.
I spoke to the 14 of Briar Bauman earlier today, and he told me that his Zanatti Racing Kawasaki is running great. He's also one of the few Kawasaki's in the field, and we've been seeing him run up front. One other thing that's helped him is he's been working that high line all day long as well. A few of the riders told me that after they put water on the track, it allowed them to be able to move up the track, and it definitely has served Briar Bauman so far in this main event.
Well, it's an ebb and flow. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now he's got to try to repass Wiles as the white flag is about to come out. This is as close as Brad Baker on the number 6 has been in the entire race. Is it close enough, though? Wiles and Bauman still going at it. So we could get one of those photo-type finishes. I don't know if we'll get it for the lead, but it is on for the podium right now between Wiles and Bauman. They've been this close all the way around.
Well, that's the 2 corners where the number 14 was the best in 3 and 4, and it didn't work that time. Wiles has opened up a pretty good gap here. It might be 3 Indians on the podium today.
Yeah, Bauman's running out of time. So is Baker. So exactly what the field didn't want to see. And that was Jared Mees continuing the same dominance that he showed on a TT, a short track and a half mile. He's carried it into the mile. Baker continues to close. You've got to figure that Mees is managing the lead a bit. Sure, the bit is between the teeth of Baker to try to get something on this last lap to happen. It's not going to. Jared Mees continues his dominance of AFT Twins in 2018, and he takes the Arizona Mile. Right down to the wire it goes. And you're right, Ralph, it's 3 Indians on the podium, with Wiles securing 3rd and Bauman on the Zanatti Kawasaki in 4th. Jared Mees, doesn't matter what conditions or what track we're on, this guy is unstoppable so far this year. Shout out to Robinson and the Harley coming through traffic to finish up in the top 5. See the rest of the field here. That's your 18 riders in our AFT Twins main event. So Jared Mees begins a month of miles this stretch on top. He'll talk to Heather when we return. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. By Replay XD, the official action camera of American Flat Track. And by Vance & Hines, the presenting sponsor of AFT Twins. Sunoco Go the Distance Award standings. We're totaling up every mile ridden in practice and racing this year, and right now, Briar Bauman has the most, ahead of Brandon Robinson and Jeffrey Carver Jr. Now the Motul move of the race. Ralph, this is how Jared Mees gets it done.
Well, it was all about the hole shot, and he was on the outside, got great traction, got to the groove first, and then, boy, it was all over from there. Baker tries to follow him here from the very next row back, but he gets bogged up in the traffic here, and that made all the difference.
And here's Jared with Heather.
Jared Mees, your winner here at the Arizona Mile. Jared, you are off to a dominating start this season. You spoke last year about how it's going to be hard to top the season you had in 2017. What are your thoughts on that now, because you sure are off to a good start?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last year was last year, and winning 10 races and, you know, setting a couple records, I was like, hey, you know, the goal is to keep the number 1 plate on. So whether I win that thing by a point or 80 points, the goal is to win the number 1 plate. But first the miles too, you know, and you know, it's unfortunate that Brian Smith's not here. He's the mile master right now. So having him not here and not beating him doesn't feel as successful as winning a mile, honestly. But I'm looking forward to next week in Sacramento. It's one I've never won, and I would really like to win that one. But I can't say enough for everybody, and I really appreciate it.
Here are your standings. Since Wiles is up on the podium again, he maintains 2nd in the series behind Mees. Baker, at least an improvement here, getting up on the box, finishing 2nd. He is up to 5th in the series standings. 2 years in a row, though, that Baker's finished 2nd in Arizona. Here he is with Heather.
Brad Baker bringing it home 2nd here at the Arizona Mile. 2nd place again for you this year as well. But your first podium, walk us through your day.
Yeah, it was a great day. The Indian Motorcycle backed by Allstate and Indian Motorcycle did great. The whole team worked their butts off. By the time I'd worked myself in the 2nd, Jared probably had 15 bike links on me, and in the semi we were evenly matched. And I was able to match his pace, but to be able to catch him when we were so even and the way the racetrack was, I was just trying not to, get ahead of myself. And hopefully this is start of a good rhythm going into the stretch of the miles. So I'm happy, it's safe, and had a lot of fun today.
Meanwhile, a torrid battle for that third place spot. Henry Wiles on the right. How'd you get it done, Henry?
Coming in and through the center part of the corner, he just crushed it, made it stick. He was on a little bit of a higher line. I started getting on the gas, closing back up, and I think he pinched it off. It spun sideways through the marbles coming off the corner, and I had a really good drive on him. I mean, I didn't even really get much of a draft because we got so bottlenecked up right there, but I'm pretty confident the Indian would have got him by the line anyway. I was getting really good drives off that corner, but need to get a little better. Jared's still a little better, and Brad got us today too.
Next up, we're going to the Sacramento Mile. That's one of the big ones. A lot of tradition, and a huge crowd will be on hand.
My hometown race, one of the best miles of the year. And right after Cal Expo comes Springfield. They're going to have to find a way to beat Mies at one of those events for sure. They really need to get him at both. Maybe it can be Brian Smith.
He'll be back in action, we expect, at Sacramento. Great racing in our singles division. Congrats to Kevin Stallings and Jared Mies for taking our wins. For Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeBow, I'm Jason Wygant saying thanks for watching. We'll see you next week in Sacramento.